Hello, lovely friend. I am Dr. Mary Barton.
And I'm Dr. Lucy Burns.
We are doctors,
weight management and metabolic health experts.
We are the creators of My Metabolic Action Plan,
your two-step map to real health and weight loss,
which is in fact the name of this podcast.
Join my map now at rlmedicine.com.
Good morning, lovely friend. Happy Tuesday. Dr. Lucy here with the gorgeous Dr. Mary. How are you, my friend?
I am very well, lovely Dr. Lucy. On the weekend, I attended a dancing competition where my daughter danced in 4 different comps, and it was wonderful seeing all these clever young people on stage dancing and singing and being entertaining, and they were all young people. There was no one over 30 on that stage, and as I was watching and enjoying this, I was reflecting on the fact that I am no longer young, and that's totally okay. It just is what it is. And I am, going through this transition of, becoming an elder, really. I'm not saying I'm old, but I also don't think it's bad to be old. But it is a change. It definitely is.
Oh, absolutely. I remember, and this is a long time ago now because my youngest daughter's now 22, but I remember when she was 1 and I went back to work, and my first patient for the day was a young guy, and he had the same date of birth as my daughter, obviously different year, but the same, day and month. And I've said to him, "Oh, you've got the same date of birth as my daughter." And he goes, "Really? Same year and everything?" And I'm thinking, no, she's 1. She's 1. Right. How old do you think I am? And suddenly, again, there's this perception, isn't it? There's perception around age. And I think, young people, depending on how young they are, think anybody over 20 is old. And if you're 85, then you probably think anyone under 70 is young.
That's right. I had a little toddler at my son's daycare come up to me the other day, and I was looking for my son, and he came up to me and said, "Hello, whose grandma are you?"
Yeah. And, and maybe that was age, or maybe he is always picked up by his grandma. So
totally.
He just assumes.
I didn't take it personally, but it was funny.
Absolutely. So I think, aging is interesting, and, the average age these days, let's call it 90, give or take, for women. So you can almost divide your life into under 30, between 30 and 60, and then over 60. Or, we used to have a little phrase of BC, which was before children, and AC after children, but you could also do BM, before menopause, and AM after menopause. So, there's lots of different markers of life where we can do befores and afters, if you like. But the thirds is useful, and the menopause transition definitely is in that middle third. But the thing I think to think about, God, how many ways can I say thing? The thing to think about is that the menopause transition is, an upheaval and can be absolutely terrible for many, many women, but it's relatively short compared to your whole life. Now, again, the longest transition is roughly 10 years, and people go, "Oh, that's long," and it is long. But if you, go through menopause and you're finished at 50 and you're living till 90, then you've got 40 years AM.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
After menopause. And so we need to be talking about this. So for the women who have transitioned, who are post-menopausal, what does life look like for you? What does your health look like for you? And what are the things that are different for you as a post-menopausal woman compared to a pre-menopausal woman?
Because they are different, and it's different for your metabolism, for your bones, for your muscles, for your brain, and also for our place in society and perhaps our self-identity as well. It does change, and that it's not a bad thing necessarily, and it's an unavoidable thing. So I think it is good to get our mindset as helpful as we can be to embrace these changes and make the most of them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's a lot of media around, the doom and gloom of menopause. There are also some really good benefits, particularly if you've had mood disorders related to your periods, to your cycle. Cyclical mood disorders finish when there's no longer a cycle. Now, again, people get menopausal mood disorders and they're often separate, but the actual pre-PMDD, so for the women who suffer often significant mood disorders related to menstruation, that's gone. So it's not always terrible. It's not always doom and gloom. But I guess what I would say is that menopause is permanent, like the changes that do occur with our metabolic health, bones, muscles, etc., they're permanent. So we do often need to be proactive about the things that we do for our health.
Mm. And I think that's extremely important, because in that premenopausal state, the relative abundance of estrogen in our system is quite protective. And to take something like metabolic syndrome, which is not exactly a diagnosis, but it is sort of a cluster of conditions related to poor metabolic health, which is increased waist circumference, hypertension, low HDL, increased triglycerides, and it's all associated with a significant increase in cardiovascular disease. Men outnumber premenopausal women with metabolic syndrome. So more men than premenopausal women have it in that age group. But then when women become postmenopausal, and we're in the age group where women are postmenopausal, which is on average about 51 years, but it is different for every single woman, then in this age group and moving onwards, then there is more metabolic syndrome in women than there is in men. So there's this big shift in our lives.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there is no doubt that estrogen is extremely protective for, as you said, metabolic disease, cardiovascular health, brain health, bones, muscle, blah, blah, blah. We've been banging on about that. But it does disappear. And some women can use and do use HRT or MHT as it's now called, but not everybody does. Not everybody wants to. Not everybody can. And for some women, particularly if they're, in their sort of later 60s, well, then they missed out because it was in the phase of medicine where the type of HRT that was offered or available was perhaps not that helpful. So basically the whole HRT was tarred with a brush that labelled it as being unhelpful and potentially harmful. So for all of those women, we need to talk about, well, what do you do? The words of Reese Witherspoon, what do we do now? And here's the thing, this is where we double down on some of our lifestyle things. There's no point wringing our hands about, I can't have estrogen, or I'm not taking estrogen, or it's too late for me to take estrogen. We can just go, okay, well, what are the things that are in our control?
And there's lots. The one I would actually like to start with is stress management, because one of the main problems metabolically that happens post-menopause is this quantitative and qualitative change in our fat tissue. So we're more likely to have more fat tissue, but also to have more of the dangerous visceral fat tissue, the fat around our organs, that intra-abdominal fat. And that fat is pro-inflammatory. That is the fat that contributes to insulin resistance. That is also driven by insulin resistance and create this big sort of vicious cycle that is impacting our metabolic health. And it's also upregulated by the HPA axis in our brains, which is our adrenal axis, which is our stress and our cortisol. And if we can take steps to manage our stress and to help regulate the stress pathways, if you like, in our body, then we can make meaningful changes to our metabolic health. And that's especially important post-menopause. So I think that is one that's really important.
Absolutely. And the wonderful thing about brains, I love the brain. The brain has this process called neuroplasticity. We've spoken about it before. It is the ability to rewire your thought processes. So something that is really helpful to know is that it's never too late to do that. It's never too late to be able to change your beliefs, your thought patterns, and the habits that we can develop, because thoughts can be habitual as well. So we can have habitual thoughts and habitual reactions to particular stressors. And that's not to say that events or circumstances aren't stressful, but if we always have the same reaction to them, like, we can take active steps to change that.
We can. And take little active steps to just impose a few more moments of calm in our day as well. Practice letting go of the things that we can let go of, although society, from a social point of view, typically women in this phase of their lives are also busy with lots of demands on us, which, is potentially not very helpful. But letting go of what we can, moments of calm when we can, and practicing more helpful thoughts is going to help regulate that stress, which is literally going to help regulate our visceral fat tissue as well.
Absolutely. And, a lot of this comes down to mindset, which we're going to talk a lot more about next week. So for those of you who are interested in mindset, stay tuned for next week's episode. But I think thinking about menopause and this post-menopausal period, which for women is somewhere between 30 or 40 years, so it's a significant amount of time. And it doesn't have to be, hideous. Like, I think we've got this idea that the post-menopausal period is terrible, that we're just washed up, wrinkly old has-beens or whatever it is. And I think there's reason why we have maybe internalized that. And look, society fears aging and glorifies youth. I will caveat that with Western society fears aging and glorifies youth. There are plenty of cultures that actually appreciate their elders and have respect for their elders. We're not so good on that.
Yeah. And that I see lots of beautiful women that I work with, lots of beautiful women that I interact with that really do worry about being old and looking old. And also talking to my friends recently about how it's interesting that you become more invisible as you get older, and that young women, we often got a lot of attention. Some of it was often unwelcome, negative attention. We didn't necessarily want it, but we got it. And that we just became points of interest in society just because we were young and decorative. And now we're older, that has gone. But I'm not really sure that it is replaced with veneration of our wisdom, veneration of our role in society necessarily. And I think that is a problem in our current society, which makes us want to, grapple to look young and to be young and to fear aging and to not like the fact that we're getting old, even though getting older is unavoidable.
Yeah. Well, the only other option is death. So if you want to stay young, you have to die young. That's it. That's not really, there's not much of a way to live your life when you're dead. So we want to be thinking about, okay, what are the options here? And, there's a lot of money in the anti-aging space. Companies are making money out of that. And I think the tricky bit is, and I've been thinking a bit about this just myself recently, about this difference between aging, beauty, aesthetics, self-care, personal grooming. Like, how do you find a little bit of peace in that space? Because on one hand, my brain's going, well, I'm not falling for this aesthetics trap where everything's primped and plumped and smoothed, and I'm not doing any of that. To the point where then my brain goes, oh my God, Lucy, look at your eyebrows. They're sparse and grey. What's happened to them? You need to fix these up.
Yeah. And
I'm sort of then going, oh, how do I do that? How do you navigate that space? It's quite tricky.
Yeah, it is. It's finding your balance. And I almost never wear makeup to work, and that's not really by design. I actually like makeup. I think makeup is fun and creative and useful, but it's just I just don't have time. I spend 45 minutes in the morning getting my kids ready, and then I spend about 3 minutes getting myself ready, brush my teeth, put on my clothes and go. I actually just tie my hair back in a ponytail at the car park at work, having sort of brushed it a couple of times at traffic lights. That's it. And I think that I could do better, and I think that would possibly be better if I, paid a bit more attention to my presentation. But by the same token, I don't feel the need that I have to. I have to be beautiful to be valuable, but it's also okay to take pride in your appearance.
Yes, and I think you've just hit the nail on the head there too, because I was a bit the same up until about yesterday where I decided enough's enough. But I was, we went out, we just had a holiday in Noosa, which is a bit fancy. We went out to fancy restaurants. Honestly, I was schlepping there in my tracksuit pants and no makeup and sort of saying, oh, well, it doesn't matter because, what is. But sometimes what happens is that when we take no pride in our appearance, we're sending a message to ourselves that actually we don't matter. We're not important. We're not important enough to brush our hair.
Yeah, that's right. My kids are way more important than me, which I think is literally what my brain believes. So there is that.
Yeah, and some of that, of course, is, a DNA survival because we are supposed to rear our young so that they can live long enough to reproduce and, perpetuate the human race. But all of that aside, I think that, this morning I did my makeup, I've done my hair. It actually did take me about 40 minutes. And again, I'm a bit slower than probably the average person, but I have recently I've not been budgeting that time into my daily time allowance. So if you don't make time, then there is no time.
That's right. Totally. I went to Mecca the other day to buy some more stage makeup for my dancing daughter, and we needed to look at ways to make the makeup last longer. And it's lovely, helpful, retail assistant and Eka looked at me and goes, okay, so what's your skin routine and what kind of makeup primer do you use? And I was like, little voice in my head said, absolutely nothing. I wash my face in the shower. That is all.
Yeah, that is all.
Yep.
There's no right or wrong when it comes to appearances and personal grooming. Everyone has their own threshold of what is acceptable to them. And so what I would sort of think about there is, what level tells yourself that you value yourself and that you have self-respect? Because if there's a level and you're not achieving that, and you're sending yourself a message, well, actually not important enough. There's other people that are more important. It's not important that I brush my hair properly, or it's not important that I have clothes that fit, or it's not important that I don't know, whatever it is, feel good about myself. Well, then what happens is you spiral down and you don't do anything to look after yourself.
It's an interesting concept that you bring, that to an extent the effort we put into our outward appearance is a marker of how we value our inward worth. I think that's an interesting thing to ponder. And it is getting that balance, because I also don't believe that it's healthy to spend enormous amounts of time, money and effort trying to change that which can't easily be changed, i.e. the fact that we're aging, but we're allowed to feel beautiful.
Absolutely. And this is it. This is the little path that's hard to navigate, because you are right. It's a pendulum. Swing too far the other way, and all of a sudden your entire self-worth is, about what you look like in the mirror to yourself. And that, if you're not wearing makeup, or you haven't, styled your hair, that somehow you're ugly and hideous. And that's not true either. So definitely it is this pendulum of extremes. No self-care is fairly indicative, or know that, that you don't respect yourself. Too much kind of means that you're not happy with or that your worth is tied up with your appearance, which to some extent it is for many of us. But there's this sort of just this path that's hard to walk, and it happens with lots of parts of our lives, doesn't it? And even things like looking after our health and our weight management, that's like the pendulum as well. No care, and you eat whatever you want or need or have, and your health declines. But obsessing, and your life becomes miserable, and in fact can become a whole eating disorder. So there's this whole balance.
And I think it's fair to say that society does not make it easy for us as we age.
No, definitely not, because it's telling us that old is bad, and it's used as a slur for a lot of things. And in fact, we were talking about how the word senile was initially, it's a was initially a medical term, and it just meant old or aged. And senile dementia meant old age dementia. And now senile is used as a kind of indication that you're losing your marbles or you're developing dementia. And it's like, oh, what, are you senile? It's like, well, why is that bad? Senile
just means older. All right, so basically biology is ganging up on postmenopausal women. Society is ganging up on postmenopausal women. What do we say? And as we are women, navigating this or entering this phase ourselves, what do we say to all of those beautiful women out there listening today?
So I would lean into our wisdom. This is the bit that happens. We are wise. We're wise now. Like I have 58 years of lived experience. Now, admittedly, I can't remember the first few years, but a lot of lived experience where I've made mistakes, where you've learnt from those mistakes. And I think one of the things that is helpful at any age is the power of learning and always keeping your mind curious and flexible and adaptable, because I think something that can happen as we age is that we become a bit more rigid, and that doesn't always help us or help the people around us. So being flexible, open, curious, and learning is the thing that keeps you in touch, I guess, with the world, because that's the other thing that happens is, the world is moving along, as we all know, rapid rates. My kids still laugh that, I grew up without a mobile phone. How did your mum talk to you? She didn't. She just yelled out the back door, time to come home. So technology is rapid, and rather than just deciding you can't do it, embracing it or learning it or having a crack is useful. I think that, thinking about those lifestyle factors that we always talk about, the 6 S's of your sustenance, your nutrition, it matters. It's helpful. Prioritising your food as much as you can is useful for bones, muscle, brain. As you said, managing your stress, also useful, very useful for metabolic health and brain health. Prioritising sleep and really being a little bit more selfish. That probably jars for a lot of people because we've spent all our lives being helpful and kind and considerate. But actually, I think it's time. If you're in that postmenopausal, particularly postmenopausal phase, this is your time. It is your time. It's your glory years. Time to be glorious.
Yep. They're yours. They're your life. Own it.
Own it. Yeah, you deserve it. You can put on a bit of lipstick if you want to, if that makes you feel good. You don't have to, but you can. Go to the gym, play golf, do the things that make you happy, and know that, yes, we are getting older. It's normal. Let's normalize aging and not have this thing that became, there was this, what's that saying, a woman doesn't share her age. It's like, what bullshit is that? Like, honestly, if you're 72, be 72 loud and proud. Like, it's nothing to getting old. I mean, it's funny, isn't it? But we have developed shame around getting old.
That's right. Yep. I feel like I am transitioning into being an elder, and I am leaning into that and just deciding and testing out what that means for me. I think it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. I think getting old is glorious. There are plenty of people who wished their loved ones could get old. Okay, so having a think about that and embracing getting older with the wisdom that it comes. And yes, I know society's still going to tell you that you're worthless because you've got wrinkles, or that, that wrinkles are terrible, or that your turkey neck is the worst thing ever. But as we all know, that's just marketing to sell a product to make money. And you know what? We can chuck all that in the bin.
That's right. We are fine just the way we are.
Absolutely. All right, my lovely women out there listening, yes, embrace getting old. It is something that is to be valued, and, I think revered might be a good word.
Wise words. Lovely wise woman.
Indeed, as are you. All right, friends, we will come. So next week, again, we're starting a series on mindset. So if mindset has been something that you feel, you might need a little bit of help with, and, how do you know if you need help with mindset? Well, mindset is the thing that helps you do the thing that you could be doing or should be doing to look after yourselves.
Yes. See you then.
Indeed. All right. See you then. Bye now.
The information shared on the Real Health and Weight Loss podcast, including show notes and links, provides general information only. It is not a substitute, nor is it intended to provide individualised medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor can it be construed as such. Please consult your doctor for any medical concerns.